Thank you. Such a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you, Larissa and Doug and Daniel and everybody for joining. I'm so excited to get started. Woo! Hi! Yay! So, yeah, we're going to be making cauliflower sushi today. And we're going to be making the sauce first, then the cauliflower rice, and then we will chop up our vegetables to go in, and then we'll roll it. So it's kind of a 4-step process. We're gonna make the sauce first because we will need the sauce for the wraps itself. And then I'm going to show you how to do the cauliflower rice. And this cauliflower rice is kind of like a different technique that I discovered about a year ago on how to get the rolls to be tighter and more solid. Because I've always found that whenever I make raw sushi, they would fall apart. They would be hard to transfer onto the plate or dip with. So I've discovered this technique that really works really well. So for the cauliflower rice, for this specific technique, you're going to need a high-speed blender and a metal strainer if you have one of these. If you don't, you can use a food processor to make your rice. They'll just be a little bit more chunky, so you'll need a metal strainer. So make sure that you have one of those before we make the rice. So let's start with the dressing. All right, we're going to be using 6 medjool dates. So make sure that they're pitted. Take the pits out because they will damage your blender. How is everyone today?
Everyone's good. And everyone can talk today. We have a treat.
That's pretty awesome.
So happy to see you, Lissa.
Oh, hi, Zen.
Morning.
That's a really cute apron you have on.
Thank you.
Greetings from Edmonton. Hi.
Love you.
Hi, Lisa. So happy to see you. Been
So
loving
happy
your
to
books.
see you too. Oh, thank you. So once you've pitted your dates, we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. And there'll probably be about 7 little cherry tomatoes. Then we have 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. We'll use a little chunk of ginger. However much ginger you want to use is up to you. And I'm going to put a clove of garlic in here. I can open it. Hey, Nate, could you open my garlic for me? Come over here. Come say hi to everybody.
What's up, everybody? All right, you need a garlic crack?
Yes, please.
All right, let's crack this.
So while he's doing that, we're going to add some.
Hey, Nate, we love you too.
Everyone loves you.
Love you guys.
So I've
Hey,
got.
Lissa, after the dates and the cherry tomatoes, what did you say?
It was 6 dates.
Yeah.
And about 7 cherry tomatoes.
And after the spices?
The spices, there is a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. So we're going to add that.
Okay.
She said 2 tablespoons sesame seeds. She missed,
Yes.
yeah, she missed right after the cherry tomatoes.
Okay, yeah, 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And then we also have a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. You can start slow if you don't like things spicy. You can leave it out as well if you want. We're gonna add that.
The sesame seeds soaked, or are the sesame seeds soaked?
The sesame seeds are raw. Oh, soaked?
Right.
Yeah, you can soak them for sure if you want to. That would be probably the best option, but you can just use them straight too.
Okay.
And we've got a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika as well.
Can we use zucchini if we don't have sesame seeds?
Sorry?
Can we use zucchini if we don't have sesame seeds?
If you don't have sesame seeds, you can leave them out. That's totally fine.
You could use like hemp seeds or pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds.
That's an option as well, yeah. Hemp seeds would probably be pretty good in this. You could even
Perhaps
use chia
tahini
seeds
is
if you
good.
want. Yes,
Tahini is
excellent.
a good choice because isn't tahini just blended up sesame?
It is, except most tahinis are not raw. Most tahinis are roasted sesame seeds, so that's not a raw ingredient. You can find raw tahini, so make sure that when you get it, it says raw on it. But the best is actually to soak your sesame seeds and then just use those in your future recipes. And then we've got our clove of garlic that we'll add to here. And then we'll just add a small amount of water, probably about maybe half a cup of water. I've got Nate running for me.
How much ginger did you say?
Just however much you want to put in. It's probably about the size of a clove of garlic.
Okay.
That I put into here, yeah. And then we've got our half cup, but I'm probably going to need more water as I'm blending, just to make sure that it blends totally. Was everybody ready to blend? Thank you. All right. So I'll probably add just a little bit more water to the, and then I'm just going to blend up this one. All right, so once your sauce is blended, then I'm just gonna actually put it into a separate, actually I'm gonna add more water to this. It's a little bit thick. Nate, could you wash my Vitamix for me, please?
Wow, this is so
Right.
easy.
The smells great, right?
Oh my gosh.
All right, so I'm going to put the sauce into a jar, and we'll use that later. Thank you. All right. Next up is the cauliflower rice. So first up, we need to chop up our cauliflower. All right. Okay, how's everyone doing?
Good. How much will a head of cauliflower make?
I would say it makes about 5 rolls, like full rolls of nori. Give or take, it really depends on how much you put in there. So I find when Nate and I are making sushi for dinner, we each eat an entire head of cauliflower. So we make about 10 rolls and then we split it between us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we've got the cauliflower done. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do something called a wet chop in the Vitamix, and we'll strain it through the metal strainer. Again, if you don't have the metal strainer, you can use a food processor to do this. But for the wet chop method, you're gonna wanna fill your Vitamix probably about halfway full of water.
What was that? How much water are we putting in this?
We're filling the Vitamix halfway full of water. Just like this. And then we're gonna do half the head first and then the other half second, just so it doesn't fill too high. So put some of the chunks into the Vitamix in the water. That should be pretty good. And make sure that the water covers the cauliflower like this. And if you wanted to add other flavors to this, like you could add chunks of carrot, you could add a chunk of beet if you wanted to have pink rice for pink sushi. You could add anything else here, like other root vegetables if you want different flavors, because it'll all blend together. You could also add garlic to this if you wanted to, like a clove of garlic. But then you're going to put it on your base. Use the lid, make sure the lid is on really good. And then you're only going to pulse for 2 to 3 seconds max. Anything more than that and it's going to be too fine. So you put it on high and then you just blend for 2 to 3 seconds. So that's it. Super easy, very quick. Then, hey, my love, could you grab me a big bowl for the rice? Yeah, thank you. Make sure that you have a bowl for the rice. And then we have our cauliflower water here. You want to take your strainer and just pour slowly. Through the strainer. Then you can take a spatula and just kind of like mix the cauliflower so that you can get all the water out as much as possible. And if you want the rice to be a little bit finer, hold it for the 3 seconds during the pulse. If you want it to be chunkier, then do it for less. But the finer it is, the better your sushi will stick together. All right, once most of the water is out, then you can transfer it to a bowl. And there is the start of our rice. So we're gonna do this again. We're gonna fill halfway full. Just like so. And then we will add the rest of our cauliflower. I'm gonna add a little extra water to this one. All right. And then make sure your lid is on nice and tight because the water can go everywhere if you don't. Then you put it on high and blend for 2 to 3 seconds. Perfect. And then we do the same thing. We pour our cauliflower water through our strainer. There's a lot in this one, so I'm gonna do 2. So just mix it so all the water comes out. Awesome. And last round. Perfect. All right, so we have all of our cauliflower rice made now. Sweet. Okay, once your cauliflower rice is finished, we've got our sauce ready to go, and we have our rice ready to go. If you want, you could add other things like I mentioned to this. You could add some grated ginger or whatever you want, but we'll just do the plain rice today. And then we are going to work on chopping our veggies for inside our sushi. Now I have a spot here that I'm going to put all of our ingredients. I have my sprouts already ready to go. I also have some leftover radishes that I sliced yesterday. So I want to put those in my sushi. You can put anything you want in your sushi, really. Any ingredients that you like to add. I also have some shredded purple cabbage. So if you have your cabbage, you could grab like a shredder of some kind, or just use a knife and slice up your cabbage. And I am going to start grating my carrots. That should be enough for now. And then so next up, I'm going to slice up the cucumber into really thin strips that we can put into our rolls. We want them to be really thin because if they're too bulky, then they're going to take up a lot of room in the sushi. And I personally really like to peel my cucumbers just because some of them, even the organic ones, have wax on the outside. So I'm gonna peel this one because even though it's organic, it has a little wax on it. So I don't want to eat that. And then I will slice it in half. And then I think I'm gonna slice it again.
Do you think I can do the same thing with the carrots in the blender? Because I don't have a grater right now.
Oh yes, you could. You could definitely do that. It'll end up like the cauliflower rice, but that would be cool too, because you could mix the carrot and the cauliflower rice and have kind of like a orange colored sushi. That would be really good.
Awesome, we'll try that.
Yeah.
I do that same wet chop thing with the carrots and the cauliflower, and I also add the stem of the broccolis that kind of don't get you, like not the florets part. So that works well in there too, and it's tricolored.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I have made rainbow sushi before with purple cauliflower. I put turmeric root and carrot in to make like an orange color. And I also added blue magic, blue-green algae to the white cauliflower to make blue. So you can actually have a lot of fun with the different colors. You could add beet to make a pink one, and spirulina, or you could add broccoli to make a green one. So much fun. So I've got my cucumbers sliced. They are a little thick. So I'm going to just slice a couple of these thinner.
And Lissa, while you're doing that, would you mind reviewing for us how much cumin and how much paprika you put in to the dipping sauce? A couple of people are asking.
Yeah, for sure. It was a 1/4 teaspoon of all three. So a 1/4 teaspoon red pepper flakes, a 1/4 teaspoon cumin, and a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. And of course, if people are hyper tasters or they're sensitive to the red pepper flakes, they can leave it out, or they could start with a very small amount. It's up to them. All right, I think that's good for the cucumber. So we've got our cabbage, we have our carrots, our sprouts, our cucumbers, and now I'm going to julienne up this bell pepper for the sushi.
Melissa, and what do you say? It's about 1/4 inch thick cucumber slices or less?
They're pretty thin.
Okay.
I would say even that one could be sliced again pretty thin. Like you kind of want just little thin strips, because again, the thicker they are, the more bulk they take up in the sushi. And if you want to put a lot of different ingredients in, you want to have smaller amounts of everything so you can fit it all in. Otherwise, it's going to be so full, it's going to be hard to roll.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Save those for my salad later. And then I'm just going to julienne. So I like to cut it in half like that. And then I like to slice just in the air like so. So I can be pretty controlled.
Well, that's awesome. Never did the air sliced.
The air slice. I found it a lot easier to do, the air slice. We all find our little tips and tricks on how to make things easier on us, right, for food prep.
Hi, Lissa.
Hello.
I've got a helper today.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, we have our bell pepper ready. And finally, the last ingredient that I'd like to use would be the green onions. So what I like to do with the green onions is, again, I like to make them smaller than what they actually are, because if I put this entire thing into the sushi, it's going to be pretty intense, plus it's going to take up a lot of space. So what I like to do, I'll just chop off the end, and then I slice down the center of the green onion. So they're smaller pieces, and you could even slice down halfway through your green onion. So they're very thin strips, very, very thin strips. That's a good one. I'm hearing a lot of chopping going on.
Dr. Graham, I have a question for you. What do you think about onions? How do they add to nutritional part, to stimulation part? How do they fit into our raw vegan diet?
Well, I would class onions with most of the other herbs and spices. It's not that they're, I mean, every taste is unique and special, and is so because of the, not because of the specific nutrients it contains so much as the ratio of various nutrients. And there's more sulfurs in the onions, and there's more allicins in the onions, and you know, some people are very sensitive to this. Some people don't digest it well. They find they get a lot of wind. Other people find that it sits really well. For my first 50 years of life, I absolutely hated the taste of onion, and so I never ate it. And then I started liking the taste of onion, and so now I will occasionally use it, but I'm pretty sparing with it. But it's hard. There's recipes where it's just absolutely vital. It's hard to make onion rings without an onion, for instance. Some people will use what we call the baby rule, where if we wouldn't give the food to a baby, then we wouldn't consider it nurturing to ourselves. And that works most of the time, but like with most rules related to food, there tend to be some exceptions.
I love that. Yeah, I eat a lot of green onions. I absolutely love them.
Well, they can really grow on you. I mean, they're really nice. It's very easy once you include them to start including them in everything. And which is why part of why I developed Simply Delicious was to keep reminding myself that I don't have to put everything into every mixture. And it provided so I can make a salad 27 different ways if you give me 4 or 5 ingredients, because I'll only use 2 or 3 in each salad. And but it's easy to start using onions all the time. And that tells you something about them, and it tells you something about you. But it's not, it's not that it's wrong or bad. But is it the most nurturing of all foods? Probably not.
Yeah, I find personally for me, when I would do, like, just the smell of the green onions reminds me of my parents' farm, or not farm, but their garden in the backyard. We used to have a little cottage, like it was a shed, but we turned it into a little restaurant when I was maybe 10 or 11. And we had like a little menu, and we would go into the garden and we would pick all the green onions and make all our food had green onions in it. So whenever I smell green onion or taste green onion, it brings me back to my childhood. So that's kind of one reason why I absolutely love them.
I've been surprised, actually. I've let a fair number of children smell onions or smell fresh garlic, and they've loved it. And that was eye-opening to me, because I thought all kids just naturally didn't like it. So I was quite surprised to find they do. And if you want to be the ultimate of purity, I would say never use an onion, never use a garlic. But again, it's hard to make garlic bread without garlic. It's hard to make French onion soup without onions.
True that.
Right? It really
For
becomes
sure.
a challenge. So plus the sulfur, you know, especially in a really clean, hygienic diet, there is not a lot of sources of heavy sulfur. So eating onions can fill that gap.
That's a really, really good point. Totally. Right. So thank you, Doug. That was awesome. I love that information. Who is ready to roll their sushis? Are we ready?
Wow, this is gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
Did we do avocado?
Oh yes, sorry. Avocado. We're gonna add avocado to our sushi too, so we can slice that up. I totally forgot. Thank you.
I'd like to share something about what Doug was just saying. I think the longer you stay on this lifestyle and you want to add a little garlic or onion and you have it, it can be a little shocking. It was for me, because my mouth started to hurt, my tongue started to hurt. I even got a little buzz from it. So I was like, wow, I was just from garlic and onion. So I think you just experiment and see how well it goes for you. And that's the ultimate test of being an 80-10-10er.
Exactly. And I've always said, like, for myself too, it's whatever works best for me, for the like food combining and stuff. Like, it's great to follow the chart and test it out. But for me, for example, I can do citrus and melon just totally fine, but others can't. So I like to kind of play around with that and decide for my body what works best. So for the avocado, how we're going to slice the avocado today is you're just going to take your knife and slice it down in lines like this. And try to get them fairly thin if you can. Remember, we don't want to have too much bulk in your sushi. Can you guys hear the kitties? I just grab a spoon. Now, a little tip that I discovered too, for scooping out avocado, I like to chop off the end. So this little part right here, if you just chop off the end like so, like this, and eat that part, of course. But if you scoop this way and then go under, you don't have the end in the way for the spoon. I just found that to be an easier way to do it, but you can do it any way you like. Let's see if you just go like this. Just goes right underneath like that, and you can scoop it out super easily. And then we'll do that again for the other half.
I wanted to mention that I grabbed green onion from my garden.
You got green onion from your garden?
Yeah, I did put the green onion in the water to do the roots, and then when there was enough roots, I put it in a pot and it started growing really well.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. We've got our avocado now. Okay, perfect. So next up is the sushi rolling. I'm excited. So if you have a sushi mat, you can use the sushi mat. It's going to make it easier to roll your sushi. We'll roll a couple rolls. I'll roll one with the mat and then I'll roll one with just a knife. So I'm gonna do the knife one first. I have a very big knife here that I'm going to use to do the sushi. And make sure your knives are sharp. If you don't have a sharp knife, maybe take a second right now to sharpen it if you have a sharpener, because it's going to help a lot with cutting the sushi after. And if you don't, you can always just eat the sushi roll whole. That's up to you too. So we'll take one sheet of nori. And this is raw, untoasted. And just so you guys know also, it's very important to find ethically sourced nori, because the cheap nori sheets that you can get like 100 in there for, you know, less money than the ethically hand harvested ones. Those ones are typically just, they like scrape the ocean floor and there's like sea life that gets damaged and killed in the process. So you want to get, if you can, you want to try and find the hand harvested nori, because it's better ethically and it's better eco-friendly. So you have your perforated lines on your sushi. That's where you'll want to cut. So you want to do your sushi this way. So make sure that the lines are vertical when you put it on your tray or your sushi mat or whatever. Then you're going to take a little bit of sauce. I'm actually going to make a little room here because I'm going to need the sink. So what we do is we take just a small amount of the sauce and spread it on the bottom half of your sushi. Just like so. And you won't use it all. You just want to spread it on there to get it a little bit soft. Then, this is the trick. This is the trick, you guys. You take a handful of your rice and you want to make like a snowball out of it, but you want to squish it all the way. You want to get all the water out. So squeeze as much water as you possibly can out of your sushi rice. This is the trick. This is what makes it more solid. If you can see, it's really kind of like a cake. And then you can add that to your sushi. I like to do about 2 handfuls of sushi rice. Because most people, when they make a sushi, raw sushi, they're using all of that water in the sushi and it makes it fall apart and it's not as fun, or there's not enough hydration, or they're smaller and they fall apart. So once you get that rice on there, pat it down. And we want to go about 2/3 of the way up our sheet. And the more you pat it down, the more solid your sushi will be. All right, so once you've got that done, you want to give your hands a rinse because they're going to be covered with cauliflower. And then we can put our salad ingredients in. So I'm going to start with some radishes. Now, I know these weren't in the ingredients, but I'm using them because they were in the fridge and I want to use them up. So I'm going to put a couple of radishes and maybe some yellow, I have some yellow beet as well. So we're going to put those in there too. Right up at the bottom. You want to fill kind of near the bottom so that when you roll, they all roll together. Then I'll put a little bit of bell pepper in there. And remember, you don't want to make it too bulky. So even though you might feel like you want to add a lot of stuff, if you do, it's going to be really hard to roll. Add some grated carrots. We will add a slice of cucumber, some green onion.
Is the sauce on the top half or the bottom half?
The which?
The sauce, when you put it on half of
Oh,
it,
the
is it on the
sauce?
top?
Yeah, you want to put the sauce on before you put the rice on, but I only go about 3/4 of the way up, because if you go to the very end, if you go to the very top, this is going to roll in and it's going to be really hard to roll. So you want to leave that open until the very end. So only put the sauce about 3/4 of the way up. And then we will add some purple cabbage. There we go. Some sprouts. And finally, we will add some avocado. You don't need to put a lot in. So there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna see if you guys can see this. All right, so the way to roll with the knife, if you have the mat, feel free to use the mat, but if you don't, then you can slide your knife underneath your nori sheath. It takes a little bit of practice, but that way you have a way to roll it. Now, right before you roll it though, you wanna add a little bit of paste, just a small, tiny amount to the top so that it will seal properly. So you wanna add a little bit to the very top there. Then you can roll your sushi. Roll that sushi down. Once you've got it down, then you want to kind of like pull it towards you and really squeeze it together. Be gentle though. And then if you have a lot of stuff on the front, I just slide it to the side so that I have a nice rolling space, like so. And I just roll that sushi. And there we go. We have our first one. If it feels like it's coming apart, you can always add a little extra sauce to the edge just to keep it sticking together. Now, once that is done, then we get to cut it. Again, if you want, you can cut it in half. You can cut on a diagonal or straight if you just want to have easy pieces. But if you want to make like full-on sushi, I can't see the little perforations anymore. If you can, that's cool. I can't though. So now I'm going to just slice and be really, really gentle. You want to go really slow with this because if you go fast, then it's going to fall apart a lot easier. Here we go. There's our first sushi.
That is so awesome. That's my first ever sushi roll.
Awesome. Perfect. And then the end pieces are kind of cute. They sometimes have like a bunch of stuff in them. So that's pretty cool. You can put those on the plate as well. But here we go. We've got our sushi, you guys. Check it out. And they're a lot easier to dip than if you don't squeeze out the water in your rice. So you could transfer your sauce to a bowl, dip that sushi, and enjoy.
That is so exciting, Melissa. Wow.
Yeah. So awesome. So we've got all of this mess here. I'm going to do another quick roll using the mat. I'm just going to.
Lissa, this is really great. It's beautiful. You did it well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did it well, and but it's gorgeous, and it came out so edible looking.
Thank you. Yeah, check it. Oh, they're
Right,
so
it's absolutely
cute.
very authentic looking, and I remember back at the Jamaica Chef Festival. There was a raw chef festival in 2000, and we had to make nori rolls for 400 people. Ah.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
you learn how to make nori rolls when you're making it for 400.
Heck yeah, you do.
Yep.
Wow.
This is a beautiful technique. This is really easy and quick and totally controlled.
Thank you. Yeah, I found the squeezing of the rice to be like massive, big game changer.
And why do you do that rather than straight out of a food processor S-blade?
Because like the rice is a lot finer. I can get it, like, especially if you wet chop it, like if you did it for 4 seconds or 5 seconds, it's almost like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like super, super, super fine. And if you just
becomes sand.
Yeah, it's like sand. So that's why 3 seconds tends to be the best amount of time. But I find there's too much water in the cauliflower rice, or it's not fine enough.
Exactly.
So yeah, it needs to be fine, and it needs to have very little water, because the more water you have.
So this is an interesting thing. This is an interesting thing Lissa's saying, folks, that actually putting the cauliflower in water in order to blend it a bit finer than you'll get it from a food processor allows you to get more of the water out of the cauliflower so that it becomes a drier mix.
Mm-hmm.
Way cool.
Yeah, very cool. And I love how solid the sushi is. Like, I've always had a problem with raw sushi because I couldn't dip things. It would fall apart and it'd be in the dip, and then I'd just give up and use a bowl. I would just throw them all in a bowl and eat it like a salad because it was frustrating. They'd always fall apart. But this way, they're more likely to stay solid, and you can have fun with the chopsticks and the dip and all that fun stuff.
I have a question for you. I'm as a side job, besides being a teacher, I also am a personal chef, and I'll be making these for a client of mine. And I'm wondering how you would present it. Would you just roll them whole and let her cut them? Or would you cut them into the pieces and try to package them that way?
I personally would totally cut them first, because the presentation is everything, and they're so cute, especially if you use a lot of rainbow ingredients. They're so, so, so pretty. So when you open the box, all of a sudden it's like all of those, we eat with our eyes too, right? We see it and we're like, that looks so good. So if it's just a roll and then she has to cut it, I would cut it for her, make like a really pretty presentation.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's do one more here. Use some beets, some red bell pepper, some sprouts.
Hey, Lisa.
Yes, hello.
How are you? My name's Melissa too.
Awesome.
So I love this squeezing out of the water cauliflower technique. I actually use carrots instead of cauliflower, but I'm going to put some water in my carrots to try to get it finer.
That's awesome.
But I had a quick question because I missed the taco one. Is there any awesome secrets to making the taco meat? that I missed?
Well, that was, yeah, that was, who did that one? Anais. Did she do the tacos? Larissa?
Yes, Anais did
Yeah.
tacos, yes. And we have
Yeah.
recorded in the past shows, so.
Yeah, well, for whenever I make the taco meat, I just do, like I make the taco meat in the food processor and I try to keep as little water in it as possible. And then I put them on a dehydrator sheet for like an hour and a half just to kind of dry them a little bit. Sometimes I like to keep them still quite hydrated, but that's what I do for my little taco meat.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome. All right, we got the carrots on and avocado and some green onion. There we go. Super easy. And then we're gonna roll with the sushi mat this time. Oh, first up, don't forget, you wanna get that end little soft there so that you can seal it. There we go. And just roll
I
it over.
opted out of the cauliflower and I just used arugula and vegetables and they came out great. And your sauce is off the chart delicious.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can use anything you want in the nori rolls. Like you can get creative, use any ingredients you want. If you're sensitive to certain ones, just replace them with what you can have. And then, yeah, I bet they're so pretty. And there we go. We have our second sushi roll. Here we go. I like to give it you know, a couple seconds after I've rolled it before I cut it up, just in case, like let it settle a little bit. And then cut it up. The ends are always a little iffy, but the center pieces are the best.
Yeah, I used nectarines instead of the dates, and it really worked well with the sauce as well.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, anything sweet for that one is so good. And
Yeah,
the
right now.
nectarines right now are so good.
Yes, did you ever taste the white ones? They're so awesome.
Yeah, we actually bought a whole case of organic white ones the other day and we only have 6 left because we've been living on nectarines.
Exactly.
All right, and there we go. We've got our second set of sushi. Sweet. And then you can just put them on a plate or however you want to present them. I've got this little wooden board here. And then, hey, my love.
Yes.
Could you grab me a little decorative bowl, please?
The decorative bowl.
A decorative one, yes.
Like small?
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you
And
very
once
much.
again, folks, we encourage you to take photos of your creation. I'm sure as Lissa's look different, as you look at all of them, almost each one looks a little different. I'm sure yours will too, and we love to see them. We'll share all your kind comments. You're getting so many kind comments, Lissa. People just love what you did here today.
Aw, thank you.
And I agree completely. It was super. And I want to see people having a bite. Maybe you can get a photo to us of you having a bite.
I want to see too. Yeah, it's going to be cool to see what everyone comes up with. So we put a little bit of the sauce in a bowl and we can put that on our tray. And here we go.
Do you make a
We have our
distinction, Lissa? Lissa, do you make a distinction which side of the sushi roll faces down, which side of the nori sheet? There's a shiny and a dull?
You know what, honestly, once it's rolled, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. You know, even the perforations, they disappear when you've rolled it. So it doesn't really matter. It's just as long as you can roll it and cut it, it's all good.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lissa. That is just spectacular looking sushi. And thank you everyone for spending this hour with us.